The Winnipeg Jets have made multiple surprising moves as it looks like GM Kevin Cheveldayoff is gearing up to make a big blockbuster trade at this year's trade deadline. And we're also going to get into multiple surprise performances on this episode of Hattrick HQ and Winnipeg Jets Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 72% of you on Hattrick HQ and 91% of you on Winnipeg Jets Digest are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening in the NHL and the Winnipeg Jets, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, KC, the Winnipeg Jets are absolutely on a roll right now. First in the NHL, just continuing to do their thing. Obviously, the standings have been fluctuating, but they've made a surprising move. Not just one, but multiple surprising moves heading into this week's game against the Carolina Hurricanes. And it has fans believing that maybe a trade is in the works from GM Kevin Cheveldayoff. Now, this all comes down to the fact that Morgan Barron went out with an injury and he's on the IR, so they had to call up a few players. Obviously, Brad Lambert was with the team. Parker Ford was brought up. They love his game. He scored his first goal last week as well, so a real feel-good story. But they've sent both of them down to the Manitoba Moose in a very interesting move. They need both of them on the team right now with some injuries. Doesn't really make too much sense. Some insiders are speculating that, Manitoba doesn't play till Saturday. This could be cap saving moves, stuff like that. This could also lead or lend to the fact that there is a big blockbuster trade in the works for the Winnipeg Jets. How are you feeling about it? Do you think there's a trade on the way? Because I think that they're definitely going to upgrade, and I think it might be at center.
Seems like Big Kev here is dropping some inklings that there is going to be a trade coming very soon. I mean, when you move two guys who you kind of need on your roster to save cap, air quotation marks, I mean, it kind of leads you to the fact that there is going to be a trade coming to fill those holes and fill that cap space. So there's been a lot of names floating around the center position. Like you said, we've seen Ryan O'Reilly, who you guys talked about just the other day, who would be a great fit for this team. But another guy that I've been seeing floating around a lot on these trade block lists is Brock Nelson. I think Brock Nelson could be a really good fit for this Jets team. He's a guy who's kind of under talked about in this league, but he's always been a consistent player for the New York Islanders, and I think getting him in this Jets team could just make them even better than they already are right now, which is crazy we're talking about, but they need to get better, unfortunately, because you see what the Dallas Stars did with Mikael Granlund and Cody Ceci. The Winnipeg Jets need to compete with these teams loading up right now. So going out, getting a Ryan O'Reilly or Brock Nelson, and Big Kev dropping these details, kind of seems like something might be coming this week, Darius.
There could be something coming as soon as this week because a lot of GMs, the rumor is right now, view this week and the week after the Four Nations face-off as a new type of trade deadline, that they want guys to get acclimated with their teams sooner rather than later. So I think things can get very interesting. And I thought that was a great point that you brought up about the Dallas Stars getting better at the center position as well. You might not play them in the first round the way that you're rolling right now, but you might see them in the second round. So how do you gear up to be able to compete with those teams in the Central Division as well? And you know what? There's a lot of speculation out there right now. They sent both of these guys down. It doesn't really make sense because Parker Ford had a great week last week, obviously scoring his first NHL goal. And, it could be for cap savings. It definitely could be, right? Obviously, Murat is speculating that. Mike McIntyre is saying the same thing, that, he would suspect at least one will be recalled in time for Tuesday because Adam Lowry and Morgan Barron are still hurt. So it could just be cap savings. It could just be that. But why the cap savings? Maybe they're gearing up for a trade here. Maybe something is happening this week because a lot of teams are already making their trades. The New York Rangers did it. Vancouver Canucks already made their trades, right? A lot of teams are already moving. So I feel like the Jets don't want to fall too far behind because you might miss out on a guy like Ryan O'Reilly or Brock Nelson, who a lot of fans, it's split 50-50 right now. A lot of fans would want Brock Nelson or maybe Ryan O'Reilly. It could get very interesting, but things are going to get very interesting. But to shift gears a little bit, the Jets are on a roll, KC. We just talked about it to start the video. They're 37-14-3 on the year. It was their sixth straight win against the Eastern Conference leading Washington Capitals. Obviously it was a good game. It was a great game against the Western Conference leading Winnipeg Jets. Everybody came to play in that game. It was a thriller. It was an OT winner. What are you seeing from the Jets so far? And are there any guys that are maybe standing out to you? Because there's a few to me, but I'm curious to see what you think.
Yeah, I gotta say that this team, I'm gonna go out and say it. I think they're the best team in the NHL right now. They're looking really good. I mean, if you obviously watch Winnipeg Jets games this year, this team just looks dominant against any team that they go up against. Yes, sure they might lose one every now and then, but that's the nature of the game. You can't win them all. So, but in generally overall this season, this team has looked very good. It's obviously been on the back of a lot of their star guys and Hellebuck being so good, but one guy that stuck out to me, Darius, is Gabe Vilardi, man. I think if you have a most improved player award for this Winnipeg Jets team, it has to be Gabe Vilardi. Yes, he might be battling male pardon baldness, but I mean, this guy is on fire right now. He has 49 points in 54 games, and he has 22 goals, 27 assists. I mean, this guy every night, it's almost like he's scoring a goal. He's doing something. He's getting involved in this team's offense, and it's just crazy to see how good this team's offense has been. Not just from Gabe Vilardi, but guys like Scheifele, who we know is good. Kyle Connor, who we know is good as well. But Gabe Vilardi is a guy who really surprised me this season. We always know he had it in him, but it just seems like he found another gear. He's clicking with the line he's on right now, and he's either getting a goal every other night, he's getting an assist every other night. It's almost like this guy is the perfect middle six guy for this team.
I mean, he capped out usually every season since he's been in the NHL as a 30 to 40 point guy, right? That's usually what his ceiling was to this point. And this year, he's absolutely smashing that, right? Like, he already has he's almost a point a game player. He's going to get well over 60 points, I think, this year, and almost a point a game player. That's great value. The Jets definitely won that trade, I think, in my eyes. And obviously, playing PLD on the weekend, they get the last laugh in that regard as well. But there's a couple guys that stand out to me as well this season. One guy that's really impressed me, and I think he's finally getting love from other media outlets, is Dylan Sandberg. I see him as the glue guy to this team. He's not the best defenseman on the team, but just having him in the lineup makes everybody else better, at least in the defense terms. But him playing with Neil Pionk has completely activated Neil Pionk. He can go off and do his offensive thing. Dylan Sandberg is there, and he can chip in for goals here and there. Obviously, from Rats, Dylan Sandberg was getting his roses on the broadcast, and his top four emergence deserves recognition beyond this market. I truly believe that. He's been great. I've called him the glue guy all year because, again, he's not the best defenseman, but just having him in the lineup just makes everybody else better. It just allows everyone to play up to their potential. And then obviously guys like Josh Morrissey. We know what we have in him, right? He's been a great player in this league for so long, but again, great performance, overtime win. There's a couple guys I want to highlight as well besides Gabe Vilardi. And again, like I mentioned, it is Josh Morrissey. It's also Mark Scheifele having a monster season. Multiple multi-goal games, multiple multi-point games, 61 points in 54 games so far this season. He's playing not, too much in terms of minutes. He's averaging out around 20, which I think is very interesting, but he's really become the player that the Jets need him to be as that first line center, and I think he's really showing out this year. And then again, like I mentioned, Josh Morrissey doing his thing again. Obviously not the season that he had a couple years ago, but he is playing a lot of ice time. He's averaging 24 minutes a night, so that's pretty impressive. He's doing a lot for the team. Is there anything you're seeing from Josh Morrissey, Casey, before we wrap up here, that really impresses you? Because, he is getting older. We know what we have in him, but is there any change in their game maybe this year that will allude to them, having postseason success?
Yeah, I think seeing guys like Scheifele and Morrissey continue to dominate as they get older in their NHL careers is really going to translate into some playoff success for this team, because it's unfortunately something that this team has struggled with, is getting out of that first round. And I think once they finally get out of that first round and break through that wall, I think this team is just going to be rolling. Obviously, they have the goalie there for it. Hellebuck is hot. They have Morrissey, who's a guy who has a big shot. He can move the puck around with ease, and Scheifele, a guy who's proven age is not a number here, with 61 points this season. So I think it's great to see this team finally get it going here in the regular season, show how dominant they've been, because they've always had this team on paper, but they just haven't been able to get it clicking, and it just seems like they have found it this year. And especially Josh Morrissey, I think him having the year he's having right now has really helped this team, because when you have solid guys back there on that blue line like Neil Pionk, like Josh Morrissey, who can make the zone entries as effective as they do, it just helps contribute to the overall team's offense for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he's a great player, and I like what you said there about breaking through. They haven't been through the first round, I believe, since 2018 when they played the Vegas Golden Knights, right, in the Western Conference Finals. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do this year. The pieces are definitely in place. Everybody's rolling. This is a different caliber of hockey that they're playing right now. Like, it's tough to beat this team. And when you have Connor Hellebuck in net, it is going to be even more difficult to beat a team like that. Now, in terms of what's up next for the Winnipeg Jets, Carolina Hurricanes, tough matchup. Just got Mikko Rantanen. It's going to be an exciting game. And the rest of the way for the month of February, besides the Ottawa Senators, you could pick up a couple wins here if you're the Jets. Continue to do your thing, continue rolling, and obviously 2 weeks off here for the Four Nations face-off. But I think it's going to be very interesting heading into March and the trade deadline to see what happens, because it might get a little too quiet over the next couple of weeks. But we want to hear what you have to say in the comments about everything that's going on with the Winnipeg Jets lately. They're on an absolute roll. Do those moves allude to maybe a trade coming? I think it's going to be very interesting. I think they're going to make one sooner rather than later. I don't see them waiting until the actual trade deadline to make a trade. It's going to be very interesting. And if you haven't yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything going on in the NHL and the Winnipeg Jets.